You're tuned in to The Money Movement, your one stop for 100% Canadian financial management content. This isn't just another podcast. This is a movement. Here's your host, Graydon Racine.
Welcome back to The Money Movement. I'm your host, Graydon Racine, and today we're going to be diving into the 3 pillars of the side hustle and the importance of the side hustle. Now, whether you have an amazing career you enjoy or a job that literally just pays the bills, it's human nature to want more, to be consistently looking forward and attempting to obtain those things that you've always wanted, maybe you never had as a kid, and that's what you're looking for. And frankly, the side hustle, well, it's the best way to do this. A side hustle is a project that you work on outside of your regular daily job. So the main goal of this is to increase your income and, again, potentially give you that financial independence that I think we're all honestly looking for. If we're not, you're probably listening to the wrong podcast. This podcast is my side hustle. It gives me something to work on outside of my regular jobs as a radio host and news anchor, and it can potentially increase my financial situation by teaching myself and you the ins and outs of financial management. Now, I've seen some people's side hustles bring in like 6-figure incomes within a year, and I've also seen other side hustles that are built and maintained for up to 5 years, and they never really bring in a single dime. The key to a successful side hustle isn't just trying to find something that's just going to bring in a quick buck. Now, it's really about finding something you enjoy that increases your net worth. So I can tell you right now, if you have no interest in what your side hustle entails, it's going to fail completely and be a huge waste of your time. You need to find the balance of what you enjoy, what's profitable, and what you already have knowledge in. And when trying to find a side hustle, you need to start looking at yourself. What are your skills? What is your passion? And what do you already have some knowledge in? If you can be truly honest with yourself and get to the bottom of those 3 things, it will save you from failure, wasting time by trying to learn against the curve, and most important, keep you interested and motivated. And those are the 3 successful pillars to a side hustle. You need to already have skills in that area. It needs to be your passion. You need to be passionate about the work you're doing, and you need to have a good sense of knowledge of that industry. So what are your skills? Now, this is honestly going to be probably one of the hardest things to identify over and over and over again. I see way too many people trying to take on a project or a side hustle and really hopes to create something that's going to begin to double their wealth when they have no idea how their skills are going to directly translate into that project. I'll use myself as an example here. Now, I know I'm great with public speaking, communication, creativeness, and I have skills in audio production, video production, and really anything that has to do with radio and marketing. But those skills that I knew I had that have been proven, and they have been proven over and over and over again, well, it helped me create this podcast with a skilled advantage. So like, say if somebody didn't have any of those skills whatsoever and attempted to create a podcast, it was going to be a huge problem. It's going to be a massive longer journey that they needed. And very well, it could be one of those side hustles that takes people like 5 years. Now, I'm not saying if you don't have the skills or knowledge that it can't be done. It certainly can be done. But for instance, like if I decided to start buying used cars and flipping them after like fixing them as a side hustle, which some people do, it would have failed. First off, I don't have the mechanical skills to fix a clock. I also don't have an interest in vehicles apart from getting to point A and point B. And I sure as hell do not have the knowledge to even know what cars are worth and what the used cars are worth, what parts cost, how much is labor, the tools. I don't even have the tools to do it, or let alone the capital it would take me to buy those vehicles, and then the wait time for the sale and labor involved. But again, the learning curve is far too great for me to make that side hustle really work for me. But you might be a completely different story. If you're somebody that knows a lot about cars, maybe you're really mechanical, you got a good mechanical base, and you have a knowledge of pricings, this could actually be the perfect side hustle for you. This is one of those things I've seen people do over and over again. There was a guy in high school, he started off with a Pontiac Sunfire, and within a year, he was driving a brand new Lexus because he would buy these used vehicles, do minor fixes on them, swap an alternator, do something like that, and then sell it for an increased profit, and he would just keep doing that. He had a ball and whip by the end of high school, let's just say that. Now, if you're honest with yourself about your skills, you're going to be able to complete one of the 3 requirements for a successful side hustle. Passion is the second pillar. Now, this might actually be the most important one. Passion is what drives us. It makes our day-to-day activities meaningful. It gives us that drive to wake up at 4:30 in the morning before you go to your day job to work on this project. It really makes you feel like you're putting your time and energy into something great, something tangible, and something you can be really proud of. You almost get this like sense of a high when you work on your passion. Your passions is going to be the second step of creating a successful side hustle. Without passion or any of the other 2 pillars of the side hustle, it's going to crumble into the dust with a stack of your money and your time. What do you enjoy? Are you an avid photographer? Maybe you're extremely into fitness and are considering becoming a personal trainer, or maybe you just love buying things and selling things for a profit. Honestly, whatever your passions are, it's crucial that this is part of the equation. I've tried and tried again to create side hustles, and this is how I know this. Some have failed, and other side hustles I have up and running right now that are actually bringing me in income, which is absolutely fantastic. That's the thing. At the end of the day, the goal is to really bring in income. But let me tell you, if you're passionate about what you're doing and not just passionate about money, it's going to make it a lot easier. There are two huge examples of this that I feel like I should share with you that I've done with side hustles. One was a huge failure and one was a success. So we're going to start with my first attempt at a side hustle, one that honestly kind of haunts me to this day just because of the amount of time I wasted on it. When I first started on the journey to financial independence, I knew that I needed a side hustle that would bring in income. So I came up with this idea, right? This idea that what I thought was huge at the time, there was this brilliant idea. My idea was I would create an application building company, like your apps for your phones. I thought I could utilize my creativity to create these apps for phones with like a different variety of ideas. Thought this was going to be the end all be all. I'd make these apps and sell them. It'd make me rich. Yeah, it didn't go that way. So the next day, I ended up going to Chapters and I bought a book called Application Creation for Dummies. Some of you might actually be aware of this series for dummies, especially if you're here in Canada. They're pretty popular. Before you go and assume that the title is legit for dummies, let me explain this to you. These books are the best and most useful tool I've ever found when you want to learn something you have no knowledge in from the ground up. They're just great. They explain everything in a really practical manner, and that's beside the point. So I had this brilliant idea, right? And I bought this book to start learning how to program apps. It took me 2 months to read this entire book. Then the second part, I needed a team. This might have been just as important as the first one because, again, I really didn't have this massive knowledge base that I probably should have had already going into it. So it was time to get this team together. One of my best friend's mothers had been working in programming and IT for like all of her life. So I recruited her as a teammate and we got started. Now the concept behind this is I would take care of all the marketing and the business administration and she would take care of most of the programming. But I needed to know what I was talking about. So I went ahead and read that big book. But let me tell you, it was like reading a foreign language. The first application that we were going to work on was this idea I'd come up with. It was called Bear Aware. Basically the idea, it was an app that if you saw a bear or a dangerous predator, you could drop a pin on the map so that other campers or hikers could be aware of it in the area. Now, the plan was actually to sell advertising on this to bigger places like Bass Pro Shop and then use the data that's being tracked from the people pinning the animals and selling it back to the government for environmental and wildlife departments. They could use it to track the animals' movement and kind of what they're going. Now, it sounds like a decent idea, right? It seemed practical and be great for the outdoors community in the West. And as you know, if you're from the West of Canada, we have a massive outdoor community. But as I quickly learned, just because you have an idea for a side hustle, none of it will matter if you don't have those 3 pillars. Now, first of all, I did not have the skill set that I needed. It was just, it was a fail. I didn't have the skills to create the app. And just as important, as if not more important than not having the skills itself, I really didn't have the passion for it. So when the first sign of adversity came along, I was quickly just booted off the workhorse, was really slow to get back up on it. I found I was procrastinating a lot of things that I needed to do. And then, of course, third, I didn't have the knowledge base of all the policies, the workload, how difficult it actually was to get it on the App Store, how to get it on the App Store, the whole 9 yards. It was just this idea I had that I thought was just going to make $1 million. I can't tell you how many people continue to fall into that trap over and over again of this idea and then not having any of the 3 pillars, so it really doesn't pan out. Without one of these 3 pillars, let alone all 3 combined, it quickly deteriorated and crumbled into the long list of failed side hustles that litter the lives of people in our world. Now, I learned very important lessons from this side hustle, some good and some bad. I learned that I was actually able to be like really creative and work hard and create something out of nothing. Now, I also learned that without the 3 pillars of the side hustle, the hustle is just bound to fail. So I took those lessons and I used them for another side hustle. Those lessons I learned helped me create the next side hustle that worked, actually brought in income. A few months later, I found the side hustle that I currently operate now, and it brings me in pretty significant amount of income every month that really helps me keep ahead financially and sometimes even treat myself. I used to actually drive this like really, really beat down, run down Mazda with half a bumper, a whole lot of body damage. But because of the successful side hustle, I was actually able to get rid of that piece of shit and buy a new Dodge Challenger. Now, buying a new dream car was possible because of the side hustle, because of the financial freedom and flexibility it provided me. And this is why having a side hustle, regardless of your financial situation, is just such a great thing because it really opens up so many doors. I knew that I was skilled in marketing and communications. It was a skill I honestly learned by attending college and taking my broadcast news journalism diploma, and I knew I had experience in social media because it was something I used on a day-to-day basis for my 9-to-5 job as a radio host and news anchor. Creating creative headlines to get more hits on our stories was kind of part of my job. So I decided to use these skills to create a side hustle. I started up my own social media management sole proprietorship and would contract myself out to a bunch of different local businesses, manage their social media for a bi-weekly fee. I created 3 different levels of service based on pricing, a bronze tier, a silver tier, a gold tier. And depending on the packages the clients would pick, they'd get like a certain number of posts, weekly analytics, video posts, and then 12 to 24-hour supervision on their pages. I was ready to go and spent hours creating sales packages, contracts, websites, the whole 9 yards. And finally, it was ready to hit the ground running and drop off these packages and hoping to get my first client. Now, honestly, they say it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. And that idea cannot be more true because during a work event at my 9-to-5, I met somebody who owned a business that was local and operated where I lived. And after talking, we decided to set up a meeting, and really the rest is history. That was my first client I had for my social media management side hustle, and things were going great. I had the skills to manage the side hustle and do the work to the best of my abilities. I had the knowledge of the industry and how to manage these pages, what trends were hot at the time, what new and emerging trends were beginning to emerge in the industry. And 2 out of those 3 core pillars of the side hustle was checked as a yes. This was looking way better than the last side hustle. I even locked down an income and clients. So what could possibly go wrong? Well, I lacked the passion. I was good at what I was doing and I had a great knowledge base, but without the passion, I wasn't getting up at 4:30 a.m. to work on these projects. I was not continuously looking to expand the business, and after a few months, I no longer really enjoyed the work itself. Not having this passion will begin to lay a massive toll on you. It's an unexpected toll. The side hustle still exists. It's something I operate on a day-to-day basis. It brings me in monthly income, which really helps with a lot of stuff. I mean, I use the increased income, but I just knew that this side hustle wasn't really the forever one. So it didn't have that grind that I was looking for, that feeling of proudness, the passion, the just end all be all. It really wasn't it. And I knew that this wasn't a side hustle I wanted to operate forever. So it brought me back to the ultimate side hustle, this podcast. The importance of having the 3 pillars of a side hustle are crucial to literally any single side hustle. I can't stress this enough. Without all 3, you will rather fail or you're not going to be happy with the work. Both are honestly just as detrimental as the other. Now, this leads us to the 3rd and final pillar of a successful side hustle. This 3rd pillar is the 3rd one because it's the most straightforward of the pillars. If you don't already have the knowledge base in an area you're considering creating a side hustle with, do not get into it. Just don't do it. It takes way too much time to become an expert or gain a huge amount of experience in the field you already have knowledge of. This makes it damn near impossible to have a successful side hustle when it's in something you know nothing about. There is a way around this, and don't get me wrong, you could recruit a team that has the knowledge that you don't to help with the side hustle, but the whole point of a side hustle is that it doesn't completely consume your life and add an additional burden to you, which unfortunately seems to become present when you become more reliant on other people, even if they are part of your team members. Now, yeah, knowledge can be learned. And this side hustle idea really gives you so much passion for it that it burns in your chest. It's all you can think about. And you're willing to put those additional 10 to 15 hours a week on becoming an expert in the knowledge pertaining to that area. So be it. But just keep in mind that that's just the time, is that 10 to 15 hours just to learn about the subjects, let alone the actual work that's going to be involved in creating and getting the side hustle off the ground. Once again, I can't stress this enough. Without those 3 pillars of the side hustle, it will not become the dream you have envisioned. Don't be discouraged if your side hustle doesn't meet all 3 pillars. And if it has 2 of the 3, it very well may be able to provide you a little bit of income. And after it's up and running, it can funnel more money into your pocket to allow you to continue to find that perfect fit for you. I suggest everybody on this planet has a side hustle. I mean, who doesn't like some extra cash or extra opportunity, or potentially, depending on how big it gets, financial independence? Next week, we're going to be covering the top 10 beginner side hustles. We're going to break down my rankings for the top 10, what you'll need to know to get them off the ground, how easy they are, how profitable, the whole 9 yards. And do not forget to visit our website at moneymovement.ca/wixsite.com/website. This is just up and coming, this website, so don't mind the domain name. We are going to be switching that over, and I'll let you know what it does. And you can listen to The Money Movement wherever you go and get your podcasts. They are everywhere. And remember, this isn't just a podcast. This is a movement.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of The Money Movement, brought to you by Next Gen Wealthy. Be sure to follow us on all your social media platforms and subscribe to us wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Remember, this isn't just a podcast. This is a movement.